We've been doing this show, I think, 11 years here, Jerry, and we cannot remember a time where we were as excited for the defense to get on the field. The other day, it was like, all right, you got all these offensive weapons, get the defense on the field to see who's going to get after the quarterback next. Are you sharing that same defensive excitement?
I sure am. I think frankly, I do have to go back to the early 90s when we had this many, especially our front guys, our defensive front. And we had a rotation. We had enough that the drop-off wasn't as distinguished from one to the other, and that let them really have the numbers of plays that keeps them fresh. And that's a big deal. And we were on that the other night. We all were anxiously awaiting to see Gregory and Lawrence and see Parsons out there at the same time. But the interior there, those guys with Osa, as well as the new returnees, Tristan and with Gallimore in there. And it was really rewarding to see. It's hard to handle. We know it presents a lot of problems. We have those kinds of problems when we run up against fronts that have numbers of guys that can be threats to be a pressure player. So it's really good to see. There's no question it's a strength of the team. Normally, this time of year, everybody's to some degree struggling with their numbers, struggling with injury, and really having to make some adjustments. We certainly are having to make ours, but this is unique and rare to see this influx of this kind of talent join a team at this kind of year, this time of year.
So you said it was the strength of the team, so you think this is the better unit than the offense right now?
Well, I said certainly we played that way the other day. This thing is a balance. It's a continual adjusting. We're certainly going through that right now on our offense. We know this offense, what it's capable of. We've seen it. There's no adage in football about a player. Once you've seen him do it, you know he can do it. You've just got to figure out ways and circumstances to put him in a position to do it. Well, we've got have seen our offense click. We can get it clicking. There's no question in my mind. I'd much rather be dealing from this vantage point of where we've had the kind of success and we've got the ebbs and flows we're dealing with. We've got to improve offensively, but we've seen this group do it. We've seen them do it individually. I've got real confidence that we can get better there over these next 4 ball games.
Jerry, Micah is like becoming a superstar. Everyone around the whole country is talking about him. Brian Broaddus, who you know very well, probably unfortunately you know very well, works with us, he said,
don't be so hard on me or Brian. I don't know which one you're talking about.
Jerry, he said he didn't see this pass rushing on his Penn State tape, that maybe they were planning to use him there before he sat out for the season. How did y'all see this with the pass rushing ability based upon him coming out?
Oh, I saw it. We did see it now. We saw it from the inside. I was skeptical that he could be effective from the inside in the NFL with the big guards and especially the type of interior players he was going to play against. But if you recall in the draft, we really thought with Smith, Jalen Smith, as well as Van Der Esch, we really weren't kicked in the butt about drafting an inside linebacker or an interior inside. Well, that's it, but a linebacker. And that was a big criteria. Can this guy be a rusher? Can he actually put pressure? And we saw it from the inside, but we didn't see it as much from the outside. But that's when the size, the speed, the burst, that's when that took over in the judgment area. But from the standpoint of him being able to rush from the outside, you might have questioned a little his length. But at that size, not necessarily his, not anything about his ability to have the quickness. But his length, you might think of an outside down rusher with more size when I'm talking about length here. Other than that, it looked like that he could be a natural out there. But you wouldn't have wanted to just spend, or were reluctant to spend that kind of pick that high. And of course, the corners had gone away that we were interested in. But the fact that he had the pass rushing, not potential, but yes, potential. What you didn't see that we see now is inside him, and see this just outstanding, not just competitiveness, but achievement-oriented person. And he is that, and he does something about it when he's on the practice field. He's been so consistent since the day he got on the field, extending himself to try to get better and better and better. And then, of course, his range of being able to not only think about it, but execute on it by putting himself, and the coach is putting himself in pass coverage situations is just certainly impressive. What you saw was his size, weight, speed. You saw him do it on the inside some, and felt like that he could pressure, but didn't know if he could handle to have the elusiveness inside to be hard to block. And he is hard to block.
Jerry Jones right here on 105.3 The Fan. I know how you feel about comparisons. I know they get you in trouble, but they're happening everywhere, especially with the Giants coming up. Are the Lawrence Taylor comparisons crazy for him?
Well, I won't make a comparison for the very reasons you just talked about. Every time I've always been criticized for that,
yeah.
And he shouldn't have that. He has a uniqueness. He's unbelievably established this kind of awareness of just people making these types of comments about him. That ought to stand on its own. That's the other unique thing. He really doesn't have to have a comparison at this point. He's having that kind of production on the field.
Jerry, you referenced the offense earlier. We know what they're capable of. It's not been happening recently. Do you think Dak is in a slump right now?
Oh, I don't want to say that slump, but that's probably fair. But it's such a faceted evaluation. But I would say that our offense is definitely away from where we were playing 5 and 6 games ago from the standpoint of production. What the opposing defenses have to do with it needs to be considered. But what I do think is the case is that we've got to go out and will play with confidence that no matter what they throw at us. Now, look at it this way, and this is the way I'm looking at it. I've heard criticism, and I've been a part of a team that has been criticized for not having enough playbook, for not having enough variety when we get to the playoffs. And so when you do get in the playoffs, you're doing some of the same old, same old. I know that staffs try to anticipate the playoffs, and they try to put some things in that they might use that they haven't been using during the year. Because, boy, I don't think these opposing coaches can't catch up with what you're doing offensively on their defensive side of the ball. So what we've done is really had some hellacious practice, if you will, on how to make adjustments and how to throw things at them when and if you get to the playoffs that defenses haven't seen before. That's the process that we'll need to come out and get more production from our offense.
Mm-hmm. Is Dak healthy?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. It's easy to point to the fact. Now, he missed a lot of time in training camp, and he missed a lot of time early with that calf injury. And some say, well, his mechanics are off a little bit. His feet and his motion aren't quite where they ought to be. I hear all that. And by the way, that's discussed. But is there merit to it? I don't think so. Mm. I think just as he's had to his entire career, he will get in. He will figure it out. That's the key thing here. He has no superior in working on it, studying it, taking it to the practice field, repetition. He's as good or better than anybody I've ever seen. And so he will mentally and physically rep this through.
Do you think he right now is mentally trusting his body?
Excuse me, I missed that conversation.
Do you think mentally he trusts his body that he's healthy?
Yes, I do. I sure do. I think he's playing smart in a lot of cases relative to how he extends a play, whether he runs with the ball or not. And boy, that's the best thing that I could think of, because he has to play smart. You've got to. Availability is right there with ability, as we know from time a year ago with him.